cut to the chase, the 2-episode finale was amazing. Firstly, I was wrong. Val and Vox are definitely hitting it in the back there. Second, Sarah. If this is not proof enough of demons being able to be risen from hell, I don't know what is. Because I think it's
pretty fucking definitive.
And is that Camille Ferros? I didn't know I was covering League of Legends lore again. And once Charlie realizes what happened to Serpentius, it's definitely a happy day. But okay, let's take a step back. This is unbecoming of me. Welcome to Mind. Be comfortable and let us explore the many details and risen new questions in this review analysis of Hazbin Hotel's finale episodes. So firstly, about episode 7, we open with the main cast reacting to the final events of the previous episode where Vaggie was indeed revealed to be an exorcist angel. And with Charlie up in her room, the tenants and staff of the hotel comment on seemingly how every time she interacts with heaven, things just get worse. Which I would say logically does not make sense actually, as for the first time it happened, she talked with Adam, it was because the moved up plans for the extermination were already predetermined, and that the meeting was just to inform her and her father about it. And the second hearing of the case, the reason why it failed is because there was no sufficient proof for her claim, and that it is the great responsibility of the angels to ward off evil as much as possible, which is justified because what Charlie was putting on the table was a very big claim, as it has never happened in all of human and heavenly history before. And of course, the angels can't risk another Lucifer mess-up, where Lucifer unwittingly introduces evil onto Earth. They can't risk the same mistake for heaven. P.S. I'm making a video about heaven, so stay tuned for that. Anyway, as Alastor talks to Charlie, I can't help but notice that his demeanor is more of a mentor figure towards Charlie, instead of really putting her down. He was somewhat guiding her on a better thought of the situation, with advising her and sharing with her the secret philosophy behind his smile. But he is still clearly in it for more selfish reasons, as he took the opportunity to make a deal with Charlie. Not for her soul, but for a favor. Let me reiterate in a paraphrase their contract as far as we know. Charlie will do one favor for Alastor at a time of his choosing where she harms absolutely no one. In exchange, he will provide then and there intel that he has gathered about the exorcists. Now of course, it may be the case that she technically won't harm anyone, but the favor he asks puts Alastor in a situation where he can harm someone or something. And as they garner the support of the cannibal overlord Rosie, I noticed some cunning and Machiavellianish stuff from both Rosie and Alastor when they say,
"She's filled with potential that I could guide.
I concur.
Stick with her, you'll be on the winning side."
as Charlie inspires the cannibals through her song, again alluding to Alastor's motivations not being as malicious, but still somewhat malicious, as we thought. It seems that Rosie and Alastor are actually privy to a plan to mold and prepare Charlie to take over hell. I'm very excited and hope to see more of Rosie and Alastor in the coming seasons and the exploration of this detail. I mean, why would they allocate an entire portion of the song to them discussing what is basically a political agenda of theirs? And can we appreciate how they look like Charlie's supportive parents here? So adorable. Again, another Chekhov's gun situation. We will most likely come back to the deal she made and Alastor made, and the discussion between Alastor and Rosie. Then we see how Vaggie's doing, eliciting the support in terms of weaponry from Carmilla, Sorry, the blade leg style elegant fighting, and apparently the hair is coincidentally similar among other things. As they talked about the situation, finally, and I called it, Carmilla reveals a vivid flashback of how exactly she killed the angel. though it is still unclear to me how she can have a morality about genocide when she provides angelic weaponry to all demons. I can only speculate that she properly maybe tracks the population growth and sees if her weapons are contributing to a more net negative population in hell. Maybe. I really don't know. Either that or she is cognitively dissonant. But to be honest, she should re-examine herself. And yes, I was correct. Her heals are angelic weapons. But she interestingly notes that Carmine and angelic steel aren't the same. I wonder what hellish materials she adds and what that changes about the properties of the angelic metal, so much so that she has to note the difference. Since Vaggie still is able to kill angels using angelic steel the same as Carmine steel. So what was she pointing out when she mentioned why demons haven't figured out that angelic steel kills angels, with her saying that
Angelic steel isn't common.
and since only the one angel was killed, the other four seen in the flashback obviously fled after seeing Carmilla kill one of them, though it is peculiar why they went out to collect weapons during an extermination and not after the coast was clear. And why the angels so carelessly just leave their weapons in the battlefield of hell. But let's go back to Rosie for a bit. In all of her interactions, it seems, unlike the other known overlords, her industry is more on the variety store, since we see meats, flowers, accessories, and even clothing in her emporium. And not to mention, she even gives advice on relationship matters, apparently. Though we haven't seen her powers yet, it seems. Hope to really get more of her in Season 2 and onwards. And then we go back to Carmine and Vaggie. Basically, through magic, she gains her wings back. Which was just out of nowhere, if we are going to be honest. Is it because of true love, maybe? It's a bit iffy for me. No one really knows. A lot of soft, and I mean very soft magic happening here. But I suppose Charlie seems to like it, so... But moving on to the last and final episode of the season, where a lot of the real action happens, because we can actually treat these as a two-part season finale, with episode 7 being the exposition and rising action, and the climax and conclusion being in the final episode itself. So, a few Easter eggs out of the way first. Pentious called Vaggie Vagatha, as a reference to her speculated real full name, which she shortly refuted. Charlie using a fireworks spell against the angels, a reference to what she did in the pilot to signal the end of the extermination. A song between Vaggie and Charlie is a reprise of the song between her and her dad, Lucifer, and the finale song was a reprise of Happy Day in Hell, the first ever song in the first episode of this season. And lastly, Sir Pentious's anticlimactic, though totally worth it, as we see later on, death was a reference to how long it takes to charge his ray gun, so long that it leaves room for others to attack him first, as we saw in the pilot. Now, while they celebrate before heading to battle, Alastor showed appreciation and somewhat a change of demeanor towards Charlie and her project, implying that he is becoming more amicable to the idea and is now more interested to see it through, perhaps. Of which is probably a factor why he agreed to face off Adam 1-1. And speaking of the fight, I have to say, if Rosie and Carmilla had teamed up with Alastor, they'd probably win. So why didn't they fight alongside each other? Huh? But I suppose their contributions were already a bit much to ask anyway, so yeah. But it is a shame. We would have seen an easier takedown of Adam, and it would have been nice to see what Rosie's powers are, and if Carmilla has more up her sleeve than just ballet martial arts and her weapons craft. I was actually speculating that Alastor might be the surprise death, and I was clenching my seat the entire fight. Whew, he did survive that by a hair indeed. And my prediction indeed came true. They used Carmine weapons against the angels, and those rockets right there are probably the weapons Pentious bought early on in the series. Then Charlie fights Adam due to the death of Sir Pentious, RIP, and did Dazzle just die? damn, that's very unfortunate. And then, as mentioned before, Alastor seems to be contemplating his altruism and that he is indeed plotting a way out of the constraints of his deal. The question indeed is, how and what are these constraints? In what way is he being limited by this deal? Power-wise, or perhaps he is forced to do things he has really no care for? Really sets the mind to be interested in Season 2. And speaking of Season 2, the final 2 reveals of this season set up the topics to be explored next. The fact of redemption working to make sinners risen or redeemed, and the mystery of Lilith and Alastor's deals. Like seriously, Sarah, if you were looking for definitive proof, it literally was delivered to you on a silver platter right there. And how exactly did Lilith get up into heaven? And the V's singing their hinted role in the future. I surmise we will have more Alastor-centered plots in the next season. Him contending with the V's and his contract with, of course, Lilith and then Charlie. I mean, possibly Lilith, maybe it might be Eve, who knows. And if I'm understanding Lute correctly, apparently Lilith had a deal with Adam to allow her to stay in heaven, and when Lute ordered her to go back down, she seemed upset. But why is the question? A lot of questions indeed, but one thing is for sure. The pacing and amount of episodes was a prime. Amazon, please give Vivzy Pop more episodes, like maybe 20 at most, at least per season, maybe 15, 13. Please just let her flesh out the story out better. But those were my observations and interesting details I wanted to point out. In the last 2 episodes of this first season of Hazbin Hotel, it was indeed very fun. Now, we await for Season 2 and onwards. What about you? What did your mind see and observe? Share them freely down below, and I'll be making a video focusing more on speculating about the intriguing questions of this season, and a few more thoughts on the up-and-coming Avatar series on Netflix if you're also interested in that. But anyway, I hope that our minds meet again soon, so
Stay tuned.
it's confirmed those two are deaf spoken.